Welcome to the Fort Myers Beach Good Neighbor Podcast. No shade, just sunshine, drama-free, positive vibes only. Each episode, we bring you closer to the neighbors, local legends, and businesses that support the local community and make Fort Myers Beach the slice of paradise we all love. We want to send out some island love to State Insurance USA, Snug Harbor, Nervous Nellies, and the Alex King Group. They're the good neighbors and businesses that allow us to share the soul of our community with every listener. Pull up a beach chair, grab a drink, and let's meet the people who make this island feel like home. Here's your host, Cabo Jim Scheller.
Welcome, Fort Myers Beach good neighbors. Today we are with Garrett Kraska from The Art of Poor Decisions. That sounds like a great song title. I don't know.
Thanks for having me, Jim.
Yeah, welcome. So for those people that aren't familiar with what you do, why don't you share a little bit about what The Art of Poor Decisions is all about?
Well, I have been in the wine business for, over 10 years now, and I've done a lot of wine education. I'm a WSET Level 3 certified wine expert. And my group of friends down here on the island, every time we get together, I'm in charge of the wine, and I talk about the wine. And I got a little nudge from all of them. Hey, you should do this for people. You should do this as a business. So what I do is I put together wine events for people, either private events in their home, where I'm actually going to be partnering very shortly with the Friends of Lovers Key. I'm going to be working with Mentanzas, and I do wine events where they're wine tastings, but they're more than just tasting the wine. It's about experiencing the wine. So I like to call them wine experiences. I tell stories. We have fun. It's very approachable. I can get as geeky as people want, but a lot of times it's just about having fun and telling some stories.
And that's all. So you are technically the wine guy, right?
I am the wine guy. I'm the wine guy and owner of and founder of The Art of Poor Decisions. That's my.
I love it. So you mentioned you spent the last couple of years, 10 years in the wine business. What were you doing previous?
Oh, interesting story. I was a funeral director of all things before that. And one day I was having a kind of a bad day at work, like a lot of funeral directors do, and my dear wife said, "You know what, Garrett, we got to figure out something that you can do, have fun doing it, and make a little money." And at the time, I was a wine enthusiast. I wouldn't have called myself a wine expert. And I dove in. I went in and started getting all my certifications that I needed. I worked for Total Wine for a little bit, and then I worked for several distributors up in Minnesota. My last big employment, I worked for Italy, both in Dallas and in Las Vegas. And I taught wine classes at both of those locations.
Wow. So you've got quite a bit of experience. It's not just a guy who likes wine and putting it together. You've actually, you've got some history and education behind you.
Yeah, and I've been blessed. I've been able to travel all over the world. I've been to Spain, Portugal, France, South Africa, Argentina, California many times, Oregon many times. I've been to most of the major wine producing regions in the world.
Interesting. So how does Fort Myers Beach kind of come into the story? How do you end up here?
So we have some dear friends that live down here and moved down here before we did. And we would visit them quite often. And my wife and I would always look around, and every time she was here, she was looking at houses. So we decided to buy on the island. Our intention was that it was going to be our vacation home / retirement home, and we were going to rent it out as a rental for a while. And that was about 6 months before Ian, of course.
Timing.
Timing. It happened to a lot of people down here, and we made the decision to knock our house down and build up new. And at the time, my wife was transitioning work, and she's able to work mobile. It's easy for the wine guy to pick up and leave. We were living in Las Vegas, and we decided that we were going to move to the island. So back in September, we moved to the island full time.
All right. Now you mentioned Vegas. Are you there from there originally?
No, originally I'm like a lot of people from the island. I'm from Minnesota. I grew up in the Minneapolis, St. Paul area. My wife is originally from Iowa, and we met in Minneapolis, and then we've been moving around since then.
Very nice. Yeah, I'm a Midwestern boy myself, born in Wisconsin, grew up in Illinois. My mom now probably lives close to Minneapolis on the Wisconsin border in a place called Spooner, of all
Spooner, I
places.
know exactly where Spooner is.
Yep, yep. A lot of you Minnesota people come over there, and
That's right.
complain a lot.
That's
But
right. Sometimes my accent comes out, but I hear it especially comes out when I say Minnesota.
yeah, it's
I say
Minnesota.
Minnesota.
There we go. So running a business by the beach, sounds like a dream job, right? But I'm sure
Yeah.
there's challenges. Number one with the hurricane and relocation, but number two with growing a business. Are there certain obstacles that you've kind of overcome that you can look back at now?
Well, for me, it was just about taking that first step. I was a little nervous. I needed a lot of encouragement. And I'm really in the infancy of this business. I've had only several events that have actually been official art reported decisions events. But right now it's just about getting my name out, making that first step, having the guts to go get the LLC and do all the things that I needed to do to actually be an official business. That was the challenge. And then once I've done that, it's really been exciting. Everything's starting to catch, I'm meeting a lot of people, and I'm really starting to get some traction. So it's pretty exciting.
Well, that's what happens when you follow your heart, follow your passion, and do what you love, right?
That's right. I won't work a day in my life. I do what I love. I really have a ball when I'm actually in the room with a group of people. It's really joyful for me.
Very nice. Very nice. Now, are there certain things, I know you've been part of the community for a little while now. Are there certain things that you find yourself doing to, help out the community or maybe give back to the community?
Yeah. And I am, my wife is on the board of the Friends of Lovers Key.
Okay.
And at the last gala, I was actually an auction item. So 3 lucky winners of the auction have an Italian wine tasting hosted by me as their what they were bidding on. So I'm going to be doing that. And then absolutely, when the opportunities arise, I'm really starting to get involved with What's Up FMB, and I'm going to be part of probably some of their events. And whenever I get a chance, I'm definitely going to try to pitch in. We absolutely love it here.
Absolutely. And it's following your heart, following your passion. But you mentioned, 10 years of experience in the wine industry. I was in the beer industry for a long time. That's changed a lot. What has changed in the wine industry? What's trending? What's new?
Oh, well, the big thing in the wine industry, it always has peaks and valleys, right? Yeah. For people our age, it took us a long time just to get into wine. And then once we got in, we're all in. And then there was some struggle with the millennials. The millennials and the Gen Zers are maybe a little more health conscious, maybe trying to avoid alcohol a little bit. So the trend now is to try to put forward the stories of the places and how they're made, and there's really a big push to make things organic, and I think that's the best thing for the soil. If you're actually a winemaker, it's better to let the soil do its thing rather than add all sorts of chemicals. So there's a lot of moving parts, and I think the latest research is showing that it may not be the doom and gloom that we thought it was going to be. That just like us, it takes a while for people that are younger to get into wine, and a lot of times they start with beer and spirits, and it takes a while to get into wine, and I think that's going to happen.
Absolutely. And you mentioned, the health aspect of it as well, too. I'm a tequila guy, but, the big thing in that industry now is additive free. So, not all the additives going in there to flavoring. Yep.
And that's the trouble with the wine industry. If you get really inexpensive wine in the US, there's 70 additives that are allowed. So, people ask me a lot, why do I get headaches from American wine versus European wine? Well, the real reason is probably because when you're drinking less expensive wine, there's more additives. Whereas if you're in Europe, there's fewer allowed additives in less expensive wines. So it's a big thing. So that's why that is one of the big pushes, is to get rid of the additives, go back to the basics, and just try to make things clean.
Back to nature. I always said, with flavoring, I always said, you could put pizza flavor on a cardboard box and it tastes like a pizza and people would eat it. But is that really good for you? Probably not, right?
No.
Not at all. So I know you're not you're working all the time. But what do you enjoy doing outside of work when you get a free moment? We live in paradise.
Oh my goodness. I love walking the beach with my wife, watching the sunset, of course, like everyone does. I love beach fishing. I get out my folding chair and my spikes, and I go out there and surf fish a little bit. I love going boating with friends. A lot of, the island stuff. We live where people vacation. So boy, every day is fantastic here.
Absolutely. It's, we live in paradise. We love it down here. I won't ask you your favorite places because we don't want to give those away to everybody, but.
Oh yeah, that's tough. That's like choosing between your kids, right?
Yep.
There's a lot of favorite places.
It is. It's great. And the water's been great down here. It's been beautiful. So for somebody coming to one of your events for the first time, I know you changed. I think you had mentioned this previously that you do change up the different types of wine.
Yeah.
For the particular event, but is there something somebody should try? Maybe they've never tried wine before. How would they?
Oh, the first thing, if someone's never tried wine, I have in most of my events, I start out with something called the Wine Tasting 101. And what Wine Tasting 101 is, I just teach people how to taste wine. I teach them how to swirl, how to smell, why we do those things. Back when I first started in the wine business, or actually back when I first tasted wine, I didn't like wine. I'm not a wine guy officially. I was a beer guy, and I got drugged kicking and screaming to my first wine tasting. Honest God, kicking and screaming. But the gentleman who was putting on the wine tasting did a really great thing for me. He actually changed my life. Kind of crazy, but he taught me how to properly taste a glass of wine. And I swirled and smelled, and I rattled off 5 things that I smelled, and he goes, "That's exactly right." And boom. And then I realized, I've been smelling things all my entire life. I smell my food, I smell my beer. So that was my avenue into wine. And that's what I want to bring to people. People that are intimidated by wine, I want them to, don't be intimidated. My events are fun. You smell what you smell, you taste what you taste. There's no snobbery. And I just want to introduce people to the joy of wine that I have. And if I can do that once in a while at these events, that's what I want people to get out of it. So if this is the first thing, to answer your question, if there's something that someone can do or want them to try, I just want them to taste all the wine they can. If you're walking through a grocery store and they have a free tasting, taste it. What's it? You don't have to buy it. Just taste it, and that's how you find out what you like. So if you're asking me what my favorite wine right now is, well, I really love the wines from Sicily around Mount Etna right now. Those are my favorite wines, the Etna Rosso and the Etna Bianco.
And, again, going back to that, I was a beer guy. So I was a beer guy for many years. But back in the day, the thinking was, I open that bottle of beer, I know what's in that bottle. It doesn't change. With wine, it can have several variations depending on a lot of different things, right?
Oh, yeah. Wine is fascinating. You take the same grape and grow it sometimes even across the street. One side it's up on a hill, one side it's on the valley floor, exact same grape. It's going to taste different. And it doesn't seem like it would, but a roadway apart, the wine can taste different just based on where it's grown.
Absolutely. And again, referencing beer, because that's what I sold for a long time, we got involved in a lot of the craft beer, and that changed people's palates as well, too, and converted people into other things, the wine, the liquors, People are searching for a certain type of taste now rather than just opening up a bottle and drinking what's in it. They're like, I prefer this type of flavor.
Oh, you get that super hoppy beer. It smells like flowers, right? It's super floral, or, where you get just a simple Pilsner, it's entirely different, right? Yeah, that's for me, I love all things that are made well. Yep. And that there's been some real craft involved in it. Craft beers, I love craft beer. I think some of them are fantastic.
Yep. And I would say, spend a couple extra dollars and get some that's good for you, right? Actually.
That's right. Right. I mean, holy cow, you spend $5 extra on a 6-pack, you're going to get a much better beer.
Yeah. Same thing with a bottle of wine,
Same thing with a bottle of wine. Same thing with a bottle of wine. But price doesn't always indicate it. And that's one of the things I try to bring. Sometimes finding a wine from a region that us Americans don't know about, that there isn't a huge demand for. Sometimes you can find really fantastic, inexpensive wines there just because the country of origin or the place of origin is trying to introduce them into the market. And until we us as Americans figure it out, those wines typically are a little less expensive, still very high quality. So that's part of the fun of wine, is you try to track down those hidden gems, and that's one of those things I try to bring to people also.
And that's why people need to come out to one of your events and check it out and be educated and learn a little bit more.
Yeah.
So speaking of
that's
which,
what I hope.
Speaking of which, how would people go about contacting you to?
Well, I do have a website, and it is The Art of Poor Decisions, SWFL.com. And it's decisions with an S, southwestflorida.com. That's my website. I also have a Facebook page. You just put in The Art of Poor Decisions on your Facebook browser, and you're going to be able to find me. And I have a TikTok page also. And right now on my Facebook and other things, I'm putting out my wine of the week. Again, this is one of those things I was nudged into by my friends. Something I did about a decade ago, and I've had my first official wine of the week just came out this week. So, and that's on my Facebook page.
Very nice, very nice. So, most of your events are private, right? But you do have some public events. I think you got something going on in Matanzas.
Yeah, Matanzas on May 20th. So next week we have a Wednesday night wine tasting at Matanzas. And all of that information is going to be on the Matanzas website. I'm still in the process of putting things together for them. But yes, next Thursday? Week from next Thursday, May 20th at Matanzas. There's going to be a wine and cheese pairing there, and I'm going to be the host and introducing the wines and having some fun there. And that's going to be a monthly event on Wednesdays. And then like I said, we're still in the works, but I'm in the works with for an event in coordination with the Friends of Lovers Key.
Very nice, very nice. Any last words for our listeners today?
Well, my last word, and it is on all my videos, sometimes sometimes poor decisions. Let's start over. Sometimes poor decisions make the best memories.
I love it. That's what it's all about. Garrett, it's been a pleasure getting to know you. Thank you for being such a good neighbor, and I hope to come out and see one of your events soon.
Awesome. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate the opportunity to talk to you.
Thanks for tuning into the Fort Myers Beach Good Neighbor Podcast. No shade, just sunshine, drama-free, positive vibes only. If you loved what you heard, share it with a friend and keep the good vibes going. Until next time, remember to cabo until you wabo and keep being a good neighbor. Also, to nominate your favorite neighbors, local legends, heroes, or local businesses to be on the show, go to FMBGoodNeighbor.com. That's FMBGoodNeighbor.com, or call 239-427-4100. We want to send out some island love to State Insurance USA, Snug Harbor, Nervous Nellies, and the Alex King Group. They're the good neighbors and businesses that allow us to share the soul of our community with every listener. Here's to celebrating all that makes Fort Myers Beach the slice of paradise we all love.